9 News at 9 starts right now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kyle Clark.
I'm Jennifer Meckles. Across the country tomorrow, including here in Colorado, people are getting ready for the latest No Kings protests.
Top Republicans are suggesting that the citizens criticizing them hate America, that they are violent extremists, even terrorists. 9 News reporter Ria Jha joins us now after speaking with some constitutional experts for perspective.
Yeah, as criticism of President Trump has grown louder, he and his administration are describing their critics in more extreme terms. Organizers of tomorrow's Kings rallies say they'll be peaceful, but Republicans, up to the president, are suggesting the involvement of Antifa, which he's designated as a domestic terrorist group. In less than 24 hours, demonstrators plan to fill these steps to exercise their First Amendment rights. The nationwide No Kings protest is expected to bring in crowds here at the Capitol and in more than 60 cities and towns across Colorado for the second time this year. But this one feels different, as the Trump administration and Republican allies suggest American protesters are extremists and even terrorists.
Antifa is a domestic left-wing terrorist organization.
Under the Trump administration, we're going after Antifa criminals, and all who fund and support their campaigns are in serious trouble.
The revolution will not be televised.
This protest comes just weeks after President Trump labeled Antifa, a loose anti-fascist movement, a domestic terrorist organization.
It was an incredibly vague order, but the problem is that no one really runs that organization. There's not anyone that you can target. It's more a concept.
Jessica Smith is a constitutional law attorney. She worries about how Antifa could be generalized.
It can be used as a stepping stone to targeting other organizations that are more political and are organized. Really, it's kind of a card that they can sometimes play whenever they disagree with a viewpoint.
But she says there's no legal process for branding an American movement a terrorist group.
One, there's no authority for the president to do that, but more fundamentally, it gets dangerously close to viewpoint discrimination.
For the people planning to protest tomorrow, Smith says the rules are the same as they've always been.
If the protesters are there trying to just get their message out, then I think that it's likely that the police will just respond accordingly and everything should be fine.
After all, history tends to repeat itself.
So far, there have been points in history where the First Amendment has been tested and it's holding up so far, and so hopefully it continues to hold up for another 200 years.
That attorney I spoke with said peaceful protests are an institution of democracy, part of what keeps the country honest, and she's hoping tomorrow will be another example of that. At the state capitol, the protest is set to begin at noon tomorrow. Ria Jha, 9 News.
Today, I spoke with progressive activist and former state rep Joe Salazar, who's speaking at Denver's No Kings rally tomorrow, and I asked him if Coloradans will be afraid to come out and protest as the Trump administration cracks down on dissent.
We're not afraid of a dictator, and we shouldn't be afraid of a dictator. I think that as Americans, we need to remember where we come from, where we've been, and the fact that we stand in the face of authoritarianism throughout many generations. We shouldn't be afraid to attend a rally, a peaceful rally at that.
No Kings protests in Denver last year brought out enormous crowds, and some of the organizers saying that they expect this week's crowd to be about half that size. That would still be 10 to 15,000 people by their estimate, and that's still huge, relatively speaking, for a protest in Colorado.
Turning now to your forecast, it was a beautiful, sunny fall day across the Front Range and a really nice weekend on tap ahead. We are expecting, though, some strong winds coming up this weekend. Corey Reppenhagen joins us now for a look at your forecast. I mean, it's really going to be nice if you can get over the wind.
Yeah, that's really the only thing. Some early morning cold temperatures and some wind. Let's take a look at those headlines here. Cold front comes through tomorrow morning. That's going to leave windy conditions tomorrow, breezy conditions Sunday, and then again windy conditions on Monday. So wind will be a factor here, and we're looking at our possible first freeze of the season coming up on Sunday morning, and that will include parts of Denver. Right now, just a beautiful night. Temperatures in the 50s and the 40s across the area, 47 at Denver International Airport. Here's your day tomorrow. Lots of sunshine. We're going to see lots of sunshine this weekend. Temperatures will be a little bit low on Saturday. Temperatures probably not going to quite make it to 60 degrees, and that wind will be a factor even down here in the metro area. That's the same graphic. We'll skip that. Here's the temperature here forecast across the area. 50s and 60s. A few 60s might be possible, downsloping winds here on the base of the foothills, but otherwise we're looking at a cooler and windier day, although the sunshine will feel nice. I'll talk about that freeze stuff here coming up in the forecast. That's just in a few minutes.
Thanks, Corey. Cleanup in southwestern Colorado is just getting started after the flooding across La Plata and Archuleta counties led to evacuations. Coordinated volunteer teams are starting to arrive in that area to help. The American Red Cross will be handing out kits with cleaning supplies at the Vallecito Community Center and providing bottled water to people on private well water. County leaders say the public water systems have all tested safe, but anybody using a well needs to keep boiling or using bottled water until test results come back. Local leaders say that everyone is back home at this point, with the exception of 2 destroyed homes, but the damage has been done. The assessor's office was out in the disaster area today. They'll be back next week with state employees looking at damage to buildings. Live look now at the U.S. Capitol tonight. The ongoing government shutdown is the 3rd longest funding lapse in modern history. This was day 17. Hundreds of thousands of Coloradans could see their SNAP benefits run out in a couple of weeks because of the shutdown.
If the shutdown stretches into November, that would put families already feeling the pinch at even greater risk. 9 News reporter Shalima Maharaj joins us in studio tonight with that story. Shalima.
Well, food banks across Colorado are preparing to feed a lot more families in the coming weeks. Without SNAP benefits to help low-income families put food on the table, food banks are worried about the toll it could take on people already struggling to make ends meet.
Some days it's hard to just put a smile on my face and pretend everything's okay.
Because like bills, the worries keep piling up.
We could be working and still not making enough to pay our bills.
More than 600,000 people in Colorado rely on SNAP benefits, and state officials are warning those benefits could soon run out.
It seems like we all are fighting for a little bit of resources, and there's not enough to go around.
Bonnie Stevens used to rely on SNAP benefits to put food on the table for her and her children. Having enough to get by is still a struggle.
Am I going to be able to survive in this city with my income? I didn't get my cost of living increase this year.
She worries if the government shutdown extends into November, friends and family who still rely on the program will be at a loss.
There are over 614,000 Coloradans who receive SNAP benefits.
The Food Bank of the Rockies Chief Impact Officer Monica Bulig expects the impact to be significant.
If we see SNAP end, that gap will widen.
Bulig says already they're seeing the highest levels of hunger in more than 10 years.
The sooner that they can come to a bipartisan resolution, the sooner people will be able to take a slight sigh of relief.
Bonnie Stevens hopes she can exhale soon. For now, she's saddled with a feeling of uncertainty.
There's going to be even more people flooding the food banks. It could be your neighbor, it could be your family member, it could be your coworker.
Now, close to 335,000 households rely on SNAP, and around half of the recipients are children. Monica Bulig says on top of this, the food bank is also preparing for more furloughed government workers. Shalima Maharaj, 9 News.
The U.S. Supreme Court is closing its doors to the public as the government shutdown drags now into a 3rd week. In a statement today, the court said it expects to run out of funding by October 18th. That's tomorrow, forcing changes to operations if Congress doesn't act. Now, while justices will continue to hear arguments, draft opinions, accept filings, visitors will no longer be allowed inside the building. The High Court last shut its doors in 2020 during the pandemic, didn't reopen to the public until 2022.
Republican leaders in the House of Representatives have canceled another week of work, avoiding swearing in a new Democratic representative who could force the release of the Epstein files. The chamber briefly gavelled in for a pro forma session today. Republicans decided not to bring the House back to work next week. Just before the session gavelled out, the acting speaker refused to recognize Democrats on the floor who were trying to speak. They were asking for the swearing in of Arizona Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he will not swear her into office until the government reopens. Grijalva will provide the final signature needed to force a House vote to release the Justice Department's files on famed pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
A Colorado Springs canine stabbed earlier this week will be out of the vet hospital tomorrow. Police say Rome went through several hours of surgery, including amputating his left hind leg. He got hurt when officers were trying to take a barricaded suspect into custody. Police say Canine Rome is now sitting up, taking a couple steps, The public is invited to a special route scheduled tomorrow as he and his handler are escorted from the hospital through Rome's assigned division.
A memorial's been created for an unusual neighbor in Denver, a wild turkey. Police living by Bible Park in Denver told us about the loose turkey known as Henrietta, who showed up more than a year ago. Henrietta became quite the star attraction. Then she was killed recently in a crash with a vehicle. The neighborhood is honoring her with a memorial tree.